Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online series 12 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the last episode, which I've linked down in the description below, I featured the best ranking Solgaleo team from Japanese Nationals. The rental and paste are down in the description below if you want to try it out yourselves, so we'll be playing a couple more games with it today. If you want to check out the battle that the title and thumbnail are referring to, that's going to be the first game specifically, but as always, I think all the battles are pretty exciting, especially in this episode. So thanks so much as always for watching. If you do enjoy, please share support by leaving a like. I'd really appreciate it. And question of the day, with the World Championships coming up in just a couple of weekends, I want to know what kind of content you'd like to maybe see me do, in terms of like Worlds coverage or Worlds hype, just anything that you think would be helpful or entertaining. Let me know in the comment section below, and let's get started. Alright, next game here, and it's Kyogre Solgaleo with Grimmsnarl, Tornadus, Frosmoth, and Ludicolo. I can't remember the last time I fought Frosmoth, and so honestly, I have no idea what it's going to do here. So I'm down to get wrecked. Okay, opposing Solgaleo is a nightmare matchup for this team, as we learned from yesterday's episode. And actually, I went back to the original team creator, and the team report he had written for it, and Solgaleo was mentioned as a very negative matchup. So yeah, I didn't really have too many tools to deal with it yesterday, and I don't really know how we're going to deal with it here either, especially if it's weakness policy. The best bet, like I was trying to say yesterday, is denying it a potential policy activation. So I could go with a Lecky. What are the things I could activate policy? I mean, if you go Grimmsnarl plus Solgaleo, you can just self-sucker punch, and I have no way around that, right? Yeah. Lecky, my own Solgaleo. I kind of need Landorus to have a chance against Solgaleo, right? Because I can even potentially Dynamax this. Lecky, Solgaleo, Landorus, Zacian. I brought Tapu Fini into a similar matchup yesterday, but it just doesn't accomplish much against Solgaleo because I can't drop their speed via Icy Wind. Nature's Madness is not exactly super useful until the late game, so we'll see. Solgaleo obviously isn't exactly one of the most common Pokemon in the format, and this team actually doesn't exactly have the best matchup into it, which is ironic given that we're using Solgaleo ourselves. But, the main thing is when you give Zacian and Solgaleo as a restricted core, you do share a lot of similar weaknesses, and so being weak to ground, for example, can be a little bit tough. Now, this team has a lot of answers against a lot of ground-type Pokemon. Solgaleo, however, isn't a ground-type Pokemon, but it does get access to a very powerful Max Quake. So, it's going to be Grim and a Lecky to start the game. Now, turn 1, it could just be something like a self-sucker punch into policy. Could be a trick. I mean, the problem here is we're using a really slow Solgaleo as well. So, turn 1 is interesting, because what I can do is, if I expect them to max Quake Solgaleo, I can actually just switch out into Landorus T immediately. The alternative would be just Dynamaxing and Steel Spiking here. But I do think this is an example of a matchup that's pretty negative, so I'm actually down to try this play out. Now the only thing is, actually, I don't think Electro Web then on Lecky accomplishes too much. But basically, I view this as a really negative matchup, and so I feel the need to make a little bit more, make more aggressive plays, or plays that maybe rely on predictions going correctly, because I don't think I'm just going to win playing safely, knowing that the Solgaleo on our side has no defense, HP, or speed investment, right? It's max HP, max special defense. Sorry, max attack, max special defense. The other approach that I actually mentioned yesterday was Dynamaxing a Lecky, just to set up electric terrain. I don't know if I love that, though, because I'd prefer to max Landorus, so we'll see. Hoping that I'm baiting my opponent into targeting the Solgaleo slot. If we can stall it its Dynamax, maybe we can do something afterwards. Oh, wow. They actually have Fake Out. Okay. And Steel Spike. Into the Lecky slot. Okay, that shouldn't KO us, right? Okay. Could be worse then, I suppose, especially because I do have special Landorus Darien form here. I expect policy, right? So at this point in the game, I think the best bet is to try to just stall out their Dynamax. Like, this next turn, I'm down to just protect. Yeah, go for a double. Turn 3, switch Landorus out into Solgaleo, and then go from there. I definitely wasn't expecting Fake Out from Grim, but that's what I was saying, right? Like, it doesn't make that much sense to Electro Web from Alecki because I don't even get a speed drop on Solgaleo, and the speed drop on Grimmsnarl is pretty irrelevant. So, Protect would have been much stronger there. Although, I guess it would have denied me Protect on turn 2 of the battle. They can just Quake into Alecki for a KO easily. Grim sets up Light Screen, so maybe they suspect that we might be special here. Or it might just be to cover for Alecki. And they're going to Max Quake, okay. Yep, great play. I just can't break through this. Like, it is so insanely difficult. Alecki Max, like, turn 1, you could theoretically work, but then if Grimmsnarl is Scary Face, which I would expect it to, given that it's running Fake Out as well, then you could just Scary Face Alecki, Max Quake at the subsequent turn. So, like I said, my strategy here is to at least just try to stall out my opponent's Dynamax, but it's easier said than done. Okay, down to go into Solgaleo now. The other thing is, I wonder if they're expecting me to activate Weakness Policy for them. I don't even know if they have Policy, right? But right now I'm making that assumption. Like, I almost want to Sun Steel Strike here into Grimmsnarl and then just pivot this out into Zacian. Basically, like, you know, how I saw my best bet of winning this game was stalling out my opponent's Dynamax, but they did a great job because on turn 1 and turn 2, like, they didn't whiff a Max Quake into the switch-in, for example, and then that turn was kind of frustrating because I could have just maxed my Solgaleo, gone for Steel Spike, like, Protect Alecki on turn 1, right, and we'd probably be in slightly better shape, but I don't think I'm winning this game off making even trades in the early game, because I have to figure out a way to easily deal with Solgaleo in the late game, and to me, the best approach is to stagger my Dynamax here. I'm going to bring in Zacian. And that's the thing, right? In Pokemon, you're not always going to have easy matchups. And so... Okay, they're just going to go for Reflect. That's okay for now. I mean, Sunsteel Strike probably won't KO. They're going to Max Quake here. Into my Solg, okay. I guess that's what happens when you have no HP or defense investment. You get crit and you just get one shot. Oh, yikes. Okay. I think it's pretty hard to come back from that then. That's really bad. Yeah, things have not gone our way this game for sure. But my opponent's played really well as well. I think if the crit doesn't happen there, like, at least get a Sunsteel Strike off into Grimm. Now I'm just worried. Like, what's Grimm's last attack? Are you running Fake Out dual screens? And then you would think an attack, right? I still don't even know the item on the Solgaleo, which is the other interesting part about all of this. But you're already at +1 defense, +2 special defense, and you have both screens up. Like, I just can't KO this thing at all. Okay, I'm going to Dynamax, Max Quake into Solgaleo, and Protect here. Yeah. I'm mainly curious what Grimmsnarl's final move is here. Because Landorus and Zacian could definitely pull off a comeback from this angle. Right? Even though we're down so much right now, but that crit did not help me. Where do we go from here? I wouldn't be surprised if my opponent just... Like, they've been making really good reads all game, too. I wouldn't be surprised if they just targeted Landorus as well. It would be hilarious if in the end they weren't Weakness Policy, because this whole game I played assuming like they were Policy. But at least I finally have my, main hitter. But it's like they are +2 special defense with Light Screen up. I don't even know how much this Expert Belt Max Quick does, but I guess we'll see. Okay, Zacian protects. Yep, they were Policy. That's what I thought. So Fake Out, Sucker Punch, dual screens. That's a really interesting set. And it's probably just targeting the Landorus slot, to which I expect to survive. So this next turn, I can actually angle to pick up a double knockout, depending on how much Max Quake does there. Oh my goodness. That was an Expert Belt Max Quake, and it did like 40%. That was so sad. If they targeted Zacian here, we'd actually also be fine. Okay, and they go for Earthquake. That's huge. That is huge, because I know that the Grimmsnarl now is actually completely useless for my opponent other than clicking Sucker Punch, so I'm actually down to just double up into Soul, Quake again, and just Sacred Sword. And what I can do to try to get back into this game is essentially ignore the Grimmsnarl and make it useless for my opponent, right? And say, okay, well, if you want to do anything with it, you have to switch out right now. So that turn alone keeps us in the game right now. And Sacred Sword, of course, ignores the defense boosts. I don't even know if Sacred Sword plus Max Quake gets the knockout here. Which is so sad, but I have no other choice right now. Oh, this was such a tough game. Really well played by my opponent in the opening turns, though, right? Like, they didn't whiff any turns with Solgaleo very critically. Okay, so it's just Sucker Punch into Landers. That does super minimal damage to us. We're going to get Sacred Sword off here. Okay, Quake should finish that off. Good. Okay, so this is pretty interesting now because, like, does my opponent actually have enough late game offense at this point in the game? I also have Max Overgrowth for Kyogre, interestingly enough. Something like Choice Scarf Kyogre here could be really scary, but... like, I'd also want to consider maybe Airstreaming. I don't think we really need to, though. But having the special defense boost is obviously valuable in dealing with Kyogre, so at least we've dealt with Solgaleo, and we know that Grimmsnarl is kind of a useless slot for my opponent at the moment. I'm curious what their last one is. Tornadus, Ludicolo? Yeah, they bring out Kyogre. So Kyogre out here. It's probably dual screens. I don't really care about Grimmsnarl. Literally all it's doing is sucker punching. It could be Ludicolo in the back, which scares me a little bit. Max Quake would give me a third special defense boost. Airstream's physical. I think because we're already at +2 special defense, I'm down to click Airstream into Kyogre here and Sacred Sword into it. I don't think it KOs because of Reflect, but I don't think Kyogre KOs us in return. Grimm is going to switch out. Tornadus is the last one, meaning they can just click Tailwind next turn, right? Oh, and they are actually Scarfed. Oh, wow. Man. Okay, wait. But because you're Scarfed here, you're in a really weird spot going into next turn, right? And I have Quick Attack on Zacian. So, we might actually be okay. Yeah, them being Scarfed is a huge deal here, though, unfortunately for me. So, yeah, running into Policy Solgaleo and Scarf Kyogre is a tough combo. But the thing is, I'm at +2 special defense and I have Quick Attack. Like, Tornadus here can fish for Hurricane. Kyogre essentially doesn't do any damage. So if I were them, I would expect maybe Hurricane into Landorus. Zacian could theoretically pull off a 3v1 comeback in this game. What do I want to do here? Like, the question is, do I protect? Because if you're my opponent, you can pivot Kyogre out into Grimmsnarl and then, like, Hurricane Tornadus or Landorus. So I think I want to protect here. And Behemoth Blade into Kyogre. Yeah, they switch. Okay, nice. The thing is, now you can Tailwind, and I don't think Quick Attack gets the KO necessarily because of Reflect. I could have clicked Fly with Landorus there onto the Kyogre slot. Yeah, but I was expecting maybe Hurricane into Landorus, but I think they should always click Tailwind there. But yeah, Fly would have actually been so sick. I didn't see that play immediately. Okay, Grimmsnarl's out of the way. Now you have Tailwind, Scarf Kyogre. You probably just click Origin Pulse. Can Quick Attack KO from that range? I mean, you're Scarf, so you shouldn't have any defense investment. Because the other thing is I should survive an Origin Pulse here, right? But then the thing is, do I really win the 1v1 against Tornadus? I don't expect to. I think it's fine going for a double Protect here. Yeah, I just don't expect Quick Attack to actually KO, but we are adamant. Alright, I'm down to go for it. Protect Quick Attack. I should have clicked Fly last turn onto the Grimmsnarl slot, because I was expecting the switch, right? We failed the double. Quick Attack comes out. It does KO Kyogre. Okay, I think Zacian wins now. Holy cow. Yeah, and they Hurricane into Zacian, and with the special defense boost, we don't take much damage. I do get confused, though. Okay. That's a little bit scary for sure. theoretically in my favor now. 2 turns of Rain, last turn of Light Screen. I'm down to always just protect Landorus here. Because we want to stall out Rain, essentially. And then just Behemoth Blade. We should win this, barring a lot of confusions and crits now. But they could also have Heat Wave on Zacian. The main thing, though, is getting all these special defense boosts. I think, my opponent actually could have won this game if they had switched Solgaleo out, like, before the policy and just went out into Tornadus. But I can see why they didn't really want to do that, right? Okay, they don't attack into the Protect. That's fine. Hurricane comes out. We're confused. Do I attack through? Okay. Last turn I Reflect. So I want to go for Fly here. Ugh. And then Protect. I mean, if we lose this, I could have played better, and we got a little bit unlucky with Confusion to Confusion, so yeah. I think I'm going to go for Fly and Protect here. Yeah, it's their last turn of Tailwind. So if I Protect here, then next turn I just outspeed them. Please, Zacian, just one time. Okay, we get a Protect off. Nice. They Hurricane into the Protect. Okay, cool. I think we should be good here then. Holy cow. Rain stops. I could still miss Fly. Their odds of hitting Hurricane are worse now. Reflect wears off. Tailwind peters out. I'm at +1 speed. I know you're not Scarfed. Yeah, so we just click Behemoth Blade now. This game was so intense. Oh, we're still confused, right? Oh, thank goodness. I was almost expecting to just snap out of confusion there. That would have been such a sad way to lose. Actually, it's still not over yet because, yep, they could be Sash and I could miss Fly here. Okay, nice. I need a breather after that one. Oh my goodness. That was quite a game. That was a really fun one, though. And it goes to show, right? Like, Solgaleo's a really negative matchup, but we found a path to win. But there was so much that could have gone wrong. Yeah, throughout the battle. I think my opponent played the early game immaculately as well. And so I'm obviously really happy to come out with a win. I think the main thing that we were able to take advantage of is basically having Zacian plus my Dynamax Pokemon and Landorus next to each other in this endgame. And for my opponent, they ended up having Grimmsnarl, which was essentially a dead slot. And then figuring out there were Choice Scarf Kyogre as well, we were able to leverage that towards our advantage because we got so much damage onto the Kyogre. And obviously, having Quick Attack on Zacian here saved us in the end as well, because without Quick Attack there, Kyogre gets an attack off and things are looking a lot tougher. So yeah, I need a breather after that one, but that was such a fun game. So yeah, GG's my opponent there. I think that's why in Pokemon, even if you don't necessarily have the best matchup, you can figure out ways to win, but it's not easy, right? Because like I mentioned, if my opponent switched Solgaleo out into Tornadus to bait out the Max Quake and then just set up Tailwind, I think I'm actually in a really bad spot from that angle. So it makes sense for them to go for the Sucker Punch play, right? But fortunately, by protecting Zacian there, I kept myself in the game for a little bit longer and actually got maximum value out of my Dynamax because they didn't like ever protect Solgaleo or switch it out either. And the main thing is we were able to punish Grimmsnarl not being able to do too much because I think the second time they went for Sucker Punch onto Grim or onto Landorus, like you could angle to maybe switch into Tornadus there immediately rather than keeping Grimmsnarl out on the field. So having a relatively passive Pokemon worked very much in my favor there. So yeah. There's no way. We're up against another Solgaleo team. I just played like an 18-minute marathon match just to go up against another one. What are the odds? Somehow we had 3 games yesterday and then now 2 here. 3 of my 5 matches with this team have been up against Solgaleo, but oh my goodness. This is Calyrex Solgaleo, and there's an Entei, so it's kind of similar to like the Raichu from yesterday with Bulldoze. They have Calyrex Shadow Rider as well. What do I do? Because, like, this is a lot more aggressive. Like, it's not nearly as passive as the last team we went up against, right? I mean, it could be, like, a Lecky... Lucky Thundurus to Electro Web and then Airstream into Calyrex, maybe? Who do I drop? Like, I feel like I need to bring Landorus here, right? Because it can Max Quick into Solgaleo, kind of like what we accomplished in the last game. I think Zacian over Solgaleo was the correct call here. Yeah. I probably should have just... I don't like taking the same approach as the last game is my problem. Because they have a lot more offense in this early game with Calyrex Shadow Rider. So I'm going to give Thundurus a shot because basically if I can actually just like KO Calyrex before they activate a potential policy, that's a really big deal. But if this is Scarf on the Calyrex, then I'm in a lot of trouble. So, yeah. But basically the theory here is that Solgaleo can't one-shot the Thundurus. So turn 1, what I want to angle to do is Electro Web, Dynamax, and then just Airstream into Calyrex. I'm down for that. You know, I will say one of the interesting things is by bringing the Solgaleo instead of my Zacian, I can have Solgaleo out and then, like, Earthquake next to Thundurus. Whereas Zacian doesn't have that super effective hit. Okay, so we'll see. I normally expect a Choice Scarf on a team like this somewhere, but I don't know if it's on Calyrex or Entei. Because you can only run one Focus Sash, right? Okay, it's Wide Guard. That's really cool. Wide Guard into Bulldoze here is an awesome turn 1 play. But they actually just Astro Barrage. So it at least means you don't get a policy off, but I take so much damage from that. I'm never going to predict Wide Guard. They recover for that option, I think, either. It's just so niche. I'd at least deny a potential policy now in Solgaleo, but they've staggered their Dynamax, which is a really big deal here as well. So, that was a really cool play. I think here I want to Thunderbolt into Calyrex and Max Guard. It's them staggering their Dynamax this game, though, makes this... Oh, it's probably Raichu coming in. Yeah. Oh, no, it's actually Entei. Okay. And they do Dynamax Solgaleo. Okay. If they end up going for Max Rockfall into Thundurus this turn, I think we stand a chance in this battle. But my opponent not Dynamaxing immediately here was really smart. Because what I was trying to accomplish in the previous game, or what I had accomplished, was stalling out my opponent's Dynamax and then dealing with Solgaleo right after Dynamax ends. But they have an extra turn to work with here, which is really bad for me. So we get Protect Thunderbolt off. If they do indeed Rockfall, then we've already stalled out another turn of their Dynamax. That's huge damage from Thunderbolt thanks to a crit. Citrus Entei, okay. The crit's actually a big deal there to reveal Citrus, because if we didn't get the crit there, I'm not sure we would have put them in Citrus range. Lightning. Oh, that's also interesting. Okay. Because you would set up Electric Terrain for a Lucky. I think here, like, I want to maybe consider switching out and giving a speed boost onto something here. Lightning also implies you maybe don't have Rockfall, which is really interesting, because then I'm not actually sure you KO Thundurus, which is really bad news for my opponent. Because I think what I want to do is Airstream here, and then maybe go out into my Solgaleo. I could just stay in, but I'm also worried about extreme speed going onto the Alecki slot. Okay, yeah, I'm down to switch out here and then commit Airstream. The Airstream then would allow our Solgaleo to outspeed theirs, right? Which is pretty big as well. Okay. Protect here. Oh, they do go for extreme speed. Perfect. Okay, yeah, that's what I was trying to cover for. So we will get a KO here onto the Entei slot. And I think even without the crit there, Thunderbolt plus Airstream should get the knockout thanks to Life Orb. But that's going to be enough for the knockout. Entei is going to faint. Let's see if it's another Lightning. It is. I mean, I think we might survive this, even with no bulk. Yeah, that's a big deal. This is why, like, Rockfall is a really nice move on Solgaleo, because it helps you a lot into things like Charizard, Evoltal, and Thundurus. Sometimes you drop, you know, you have Lightning, you know, Sun, Steel, Strike, Quake, and Protect. And it's Rillaboom coming in. Okay, so my Solgaleo is suddenly in a really interesting spot, I think, but I still don't want to activate a policy for my opponent. And Grassy Glide / Fake Out's looking kind of scary on both Pokemon right now. It's pretty easy for them to just fake out like Max Quake here. I think I'm willing to pivot Solgaleo out into Landorus here. And with Thundurus, I'm actually willing to just sacrifice it, but I'm down to go for Fly because there's a chance my opponent tries to double up on Solgaleo, expecting a Thundurus on Protect. And if I actually get a Fly off, they're in really bad shape because then I can just actually KO Rillaboom or Calyrex if it switches in. This is still an uphill battle, right? Because they staggered their Dynamax quite nicely against me, but... Okay, they do just go for Glide here onto Thundurus. Yep, that's enough for a KO. That's okay. Let's see if they went for Quake here. Beautiful. Okay, we at least stalled their Dynamax. That's good, that's good. I need to go out into Solgaleo here. And the other downside is I just gave up my speed boost, right? So, put in that work to not really accomplish too much, but that's okay. Dynamax ends now. I still have to be worried about Calyrex coming in and just clicking Bulldoze though, right? Which is not good for me. The problem is Rillaboom having all this priority against me right now. They didn't get any boosts on Solgaleo, so I could angle for like an Earth Power into a Crunch. You're intimidated on Rillaboom. Like, this turn I lean towards Protect, and then Sun Steel Strike into the Rillaboom slot. Okay, they stay in with both. Makes sense. Glide into Protect. Yeah, I think a double up into that slot makes a lot of sense right now. Yep. Fly was the other play I thought would be pretty interesting there, but I'm not sure I love that. I could go for Fly this turn, though. Ooh, that is a 2-hit KO. Okay. And I am faster than the Rillaboom. Okay, we've seen Sunsteel Strike, we've seen Max Lightning. Implies no Max Rockfall. I'd expect just Quake and Protect. Like, if I go for Fly here, I avoid the Sunsteel Strike. And then I KO Rillaboom. Right? I KO Rillaboom. Then the next turn, Calyrex comes in. Maybe you click Bulldoze, but with Grassy Terrain up, like I can survive an Earthquake with Solgaleo. Fly KOs Calyrex. So I think Fly is correct here. Interesting. Okay, they actually just Sunsteel Strike here. They're faster with the Soul, which makes sense given that your max speed. Was it correct to Earth Power then is the question. This is really intense. These Solgaleo games have been absolutely crazy. But we should get the knockout onto them now. Okay. So the speed order this next turn is Calyrex first, their Solgaleo, my Solgaleo, or sorry, my Landorus, then my Solgaleo, right? I have Assault Vest. Grassy Terrain is still up, so you could go for Bulldoze. I don't think they've seen my items, so you might be worried about, you know, what I'm using here. You could just Protect here. Like, I basically want to consider switching into Regieleki right now. I mean, Calyrex should just Protect here, no? You could also just Astro Barrage, I suppose. Sunsteel... No, you can't Sunsteel Strike. Astro Barrage. I really don't want to activate Policy still on Calyrex. If they Protect and then... I mean, you have no incentive to ever target the Landorus slot because I'm slower. So you should always target the Solgaleo slot. So I think I just stay in here, truthfully. And Sunsteel Strike Calyrex. Okay, they don't Protect. So they just Astro Barrage. That's fine. With Assault Vest here, we'll survive comfortably. Yep, nice. And they just Wild Charge. That's totally okay. It's a 3v1 now against their Solgaleo. And Flying misses. That's why we go for Sunsteel Strike. Okay. Holy cow, this is intense. These games today have just been crazy. Nice. I think, though, what's really interesting is basically the lesson I learned from yesterday is I can't make it easy for my opponent to activate their own weakness policy. So that's what I try to do really hard in both games today. Because yesterday, when I played against Solgaleo, I literally just had, like, it felt like I could do nothing, essentially. Their Solgaleo could still easily pull off a 3v1 comeback right now, though. So I have to be careful. What do we expect? That, like, if I were them, I would Sunsteel Strike Landorus. I have Crunch, and I'm worried about Earthquake. So I want to protect here. And I think I do finally just activate Weakness Policy. Okay, Landorus protects. They do just go for Earthquake, though. That's really bad. Maybe we can survive this thanks to Grassy Terrain. We do survive. Okay. Oh, that's a really big deal, because essentially now this Solgaleo has to choose its target, and that does so much damage. Okay. So as long as you don't have a spread type attack here that hits both, like Rock Slide, I should win the game. Because all I need is one more hit onto Solgaleo, and then Regieleki comes out and just clicks Thunderbolt. The logic from that play last turn was, yeah, I was banking off surviving either a Wild Charge or an Earthquake. But that was obviously really close. And if I had actually just clicked Earth Power there, I would have won. But, like, let's say I attack there, they outspeed me, they KO me, I bring up, and Solgaleo, like, crunches, then Regieleki doesn't KO with a Thunderbolt, and then they just Earthquake to KO both of my Pokemon, whereas now I'm in a better spot for this. So, Earth Power, and just Crunch. Yeah, and then just Earthquake. Beautiful. Wow, I didn't think we'd be able to take 2 battles in a row against Solgaleo, but we were able to pull it off here. These games have been absolutely bonkers. But it goes to show once again, right? Like, even if a matchup is really bad, you can find your way around it. I just never thought we'd play against so many Solgaleos. Like, 3 of my 5 battles with this team have been up against it. But, yeah, we were able to find ways around it, fortunately. But both games really, really scary here. And I definitely did not expect the wide guard from Solgaleo into Astral Barrage immediately. I think that was, that was definitely unexpected. So then I'm curious, right? Because Solgaleo then just doesn't have a Protect. Because when you run Wide Guard, like, you not only have to drop, like, Max Rockfall, but you also potentially drop Protect on it, right? And so that makes things trickier for it. And they had Sunsteel Strike, Lightning, and Earthquake. Yeah, so they didn't have Protect on it. Which I actually should have thought about a little bit more of as well. But ultimately, we're able to take it. So let's look for one final one. Third game here against rank 99, and it's Zamazenta Groudon. Zama Groudon. This is really scary. Because my team relies so much on physical damage. So I have to really be worried about Zama Thundurus, Zama Groudon, right? Aleki can Electro Web. But I have to worry about activating Defiant. Man. Like, I already don't have that much experience fighting against this duo, but using it with this kind of team definitely puts me in for a wild ride. Who do I max? None of my max options feel that strong. I guess Solgaleo, maybe? Aleki, Soul, Zacian, Landorus. I don't know. I think you could make an argument for Thundurus Dynamax here, but I don't think it actually trades that well against Zamazenta Thundurus. But I guess neither of those my Solgaleo, so what am I really going for here? Zamazenta, I think, is just really scary, because the defense boost, even just a single one, goes such a long way. Whether it be How or coaching. It's going to be Zama Groudon, though. Okay. What do we want to do on turn 1? I mean, on paper, this looks terrible, right? Because they could just go for, like, Coaching Behemoth Blade. I said Behemoth Blade, I mean Precipice Blades. I could just Electro Web Max Quake, but I don't know if that even KOs Zamazenta. We also don't have speed investment on Solgaleo, so I don't even know if we outspeed after that. Is it ever Dynamax Alecki here? That seems absolutely crazy. I don't think so. I think I like Thunderbolt Zamazenta and actually just switch out into Landorus here. So we switch. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather, I guess, deal with Groudon than Thundurus, because I felt really not equipped to deal with Thundurus, because I don't have Rockfall, but they don't know that. Oh, Groudon protects. Okay, that's a favorable start for us, no matter what they go for. There's T-Bolt. It's not much. And Coaching. The thing is, like, do you really stay in with Groudon here? Because you could keep Coaching up, but I think a switch also makes some sense. Basically, I want to Grass Knot this. But if you know this team and you know Grass Knot's here, I just have no value from that attack. I think the other play I'm down for is actually Electro Web here and then just Earth Power into Zama. I think that's fine, actually. And they max Groudon. Okay. So you have a defense boost. Your attack is neutralized right now. Yeah, and if I click Grass Knot here into Dynamax Groudon, it's just no bueno. So hopefully, like, I think Zama protecting here makes sense. That would be bad for me, obviously. Okay, no protect, that's good. That's a really bad miss. Because it gives Groudon so much more room to work with now. Yeah. The idea was drop Zamazenta speed, outspeed it with Landorus, KO it. But that's the game we play. They have Max Flare as well. That's going to one-shot Landorus, isn't it? Yep. I have very few answers into this at this point. I don't even know if regular Landorus would have survived at neutral, honestly. But I don't see a way to really win this anymore. Especially because they have Max Flare. Even if we survive with Landorus, like, I don't think I would have been in a really good spot. Like, I think they played towards Zamazenta Groudon perfectly here. Okay. Yeah, I really don't see much of an out here because they're at +2 defense, right? And both of our attackers are restricted. Like, all of our main attackers on this team are physical Pokemon. In Dynamax Thundurus, Dynamax Solgaleo, and Zacian. So defense boosts are a major problem. And they're not that common in this format outside of Max Steel Spike. But something like Coaching is going to be bad news. Pretty easy to just protect Urshifu now, Max Quake into Zacian. Honestly, I think you just attack with Urshifu here as well. If I protect... I need to stall at least one more turn of Dynamax if I want to win this game, right? Yeah, I guess I could just actually try to KO Urshifu here. This is a game where I'm so far behind, like, I'm just going to go for it. And they switch out. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Nice bait. Not that I really had too much counterplay to that this turn. The play I was thinking about was sub-protect, and that actually would have worked out okay. But in the long run, I still don't really see how I beat Groudon, because they just Precipice Blades everything, right? I think one of the game changers here is the Groudon actually having Max Flare as well, because it just means they do so much more damage. So I get T-Bolt and Sacred Sword off, and that is enough for the knockout. But Groudon gets a Quake off. Now, if they actually Quake into Alecki, we actually have a really solid shot at still winning. But if Zacian just gets tapped here, I think I lose immediately. Yep, and they targeted Zacian. And that's always the right play, because from my opponent's perspective, like, why do you have to target a Lecky, right? This thing is completely useless into Groudon. I brought it because I was really worried about my opponent playing a Thundurus-centered game. But yeah, they just play towards Groudon, which is really smart. And, like, we just don't have the regular tools that we have to deal with Groudon here because they have that coaching. My best bet would have been Dynamax Landorus Max Overgrowth, but it doesn't even really do that much damage into Groudon, truthfully. And the worst part here is I don't have Protect on Solgaleo, so it's just a free +1 Max Quake into me. I have no counterplay to that. Yeah, so this should be over. I'm going to Electro Web, Dynamax. If we want any chance at winning this game, we would need a lot of crits onto Groudon. Actually, not necessarily. I guess, like, because Urshifu could just attack here, right? So if I had just KO'd the Urshifu, I would still need a lot of crits, because I don't have Policy on Solgaleo here, but I guess they don't necessarily know that yet. I went for Steel Spike on a Groudon, but that does such minuscule damage. I think it's better to just go for the Urshifu to cover for them not protecting here. Yeah, they do protect, though. Okay. Yeah, and if we had, like, faster Solgaleo, things would be interesting, because I could just Dynamax it immediately. Oh, they have no speed at all in Groudon. Okay. Well, I said to make things interesting, but I don't have Policy on Solgaleo, so I think Groudon should always just win this endgame. That's why I need critical hits, right? That's my only shot at winning. You could just Quake into a Lecky now. Oh, Rockfall's even better, actually. Because then you break through Sash, you can Sucker Punch me. Yeah. Yeah, I think even if I didn't miss Electro Web here, I still would have been in a really tough position because they had Flare and went for it correctly onto me. And their play here just covered for me having Weakness Policy on Urshifu, as well, or sorry, on Solgaleo, right? So I think that's always just the right play from them to make. Okay, so the win condition is still maybe a crit onto Groudon, but I also need to KO Urshifu. And I don't even think a Max Steel Spike here KOs Urshifu by itself. I need a Precipice Blades miss and 2 crits maybe. So we'll see. Yeah, back Urshifu also just really smart into the composition I have here. Yeah, and we don't KO Urshifu there. Maybe it was to just Dynamax Landorus immediately and Max Overgrowth then to have better damage into Groudon, but I think we actually survived that thanks to the defense boost. But yeah, without KO, like, that's why I was saying we need a, you know, yeah, I guess we didn't necessarily need a miss then. I needed 2 crits, but yeah, now this game is over. These are some really fun games, though. I mean, we played against all really unorthodox restricted combos, and I'm really happy to just go 2-1 in those battles because this team was really designed to be very anti-meta against, like, the most common meta comps, especially in Japan when the original creator had made it, right? They were looking to counter things like Calyrex Ice Palkia, Zacian Kyogre, Groudon Zacian, but we didn't play any of those today and went up against really obscure restricted duos. So we were still able to maneuver out of it, but I do wish I could have, like, showcased how good Tapu Fini on this team is a little bit more, because, like, Fini Solgaleo is really effectively, but I had to, like, create such narrow game plans against the Solgaleo teams that we went up against. And in this battle, I think it would have been better off for me to just, given that they led the Groudon, like a Landorus plus a Lecky lead. The problem with that is it gets absolutely demolished if they lead Thundurus, and so it's hard for me to cover for both Thundurus and Groudon really easily in that matchup, right? And I tried to lead in a way to give Thundurus trouble, but they just went with Groudon immediately, which was pretty bad for me. Given that our Solgaleo was actually faster than Groudon, like in a best of 3, I'd actually consider just staying in with Solgaleo and Steel Spiking immediately. Like if I just went Thunderbolt, Steel Spike turn 1 onto Zamazenta, I think then this also could have been a pretty different game, because then I'd have Landorus for Intimidate, and then you don't get another coaching off, right? Because then another Thunderbolt would just finish you off. Although then you could just protect Zamazenta, I suppose, and then Rockfall into the Regieleki slot. So yeah. Either way, though, that was a really fun set of battles. So thank you so much as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy. Don't forget to answer the question of the day, and I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.